Welcome to Music with Mrs. Avery. Hello everyone. In this lesson, we are going to look at different time signatures and how to compose for those different time signatures. But before we get started, you are going to need two items, a blank piece of paper and a pencil. So go ahead and pause this video so that you can go and get those materials. Now that you have your materials, let's get started. At the top of your paper, let's write down our vocabulary word for this lesson, time signature. A time signature is a music symbol that tells us how many beats are in a measure and what type of note gets the beat. So, all time signatures have two numbers. They have a top number and a bottom number. So, for example, let's look at the time signature 2-4. Okay, the top number tells us how many beats are in a measure. So, if our song had a 2-4 time signature, we would look at that top number to tell us how many beats would be in each measure. So go ahead and take a moment to label this time signature that we're using as our example. We could even write example over here, so we know this is an example. Now the bottom number. The bottom number has a special purpose. It tells us what type of note will get the beat in a song. Anytime you see the number 4 at the bottom of the time signature, that 4 tells us that a quarter note gets the beat. So, you can kind of think of this as a fraction when it comes to this bottom number. So, if we turned this 4 into a fraction, it would be 1/4. Okay, since the 4 is on the bottom, we keep that 4 in the denominator spot. So, a fourth is a quarter, right? A fourth is a quarter. So the 4 tells us that a quarter note gets the beat. Now sometimes with time signatures, we have different numbers on the bottom. Sometimes we'll have a 2, and sometimes we'll have an 8. But in this lesson, we are only going to look at time signatures that have a 4 on the bottom. And that 4 tells us that a quarter note gets the beat. So, let's compose for a 2-4 time signature. So underneath, let's rewrite our 2-4 time signature. So, remember, we can only have 2 beats per measure. So, we know about some notes that we could use to compose. Maybe we could add them to the top of our paper just to remind us. We know about a quarter note, and we know a quarter note gets 1 beat. We know about a half note. Half note gets 2 beats. We know about a whole note, and a whole note gets 4 beats. We also know about a quarter rest, which gets 1 beat of silence. And we know about a half rest. That gets 2 beats of silence. So let's just use those 5 for this lesson. So, if we wanted to compose a measure in 2/4 time, what could we use to equal 2 beats? How about 2 quarter notes? 1, 2. And if at any time I'm moving too fast, you can pause this video to catch yourself up. And we'll add a bar line there to separate our measures. So we can see in this measure we have 2 beats. 1 plus 1 equals 2. What else could we use? Sure, a half note. Excellent. We could use a half note. And we know that a half note gets 2 full beats. How about could we combine something and make it a more difficult measure? Yeah, how about a quarter note and a quarter rest? Excellent. Fantastic. So we can look at each of these measures and we can very easily see that we have 2 beats, 2 beats, and 2 beats. Following the time signature, remember that top number tells us how many beats are in each measure, and that bottom number tells us that the quarter note gets the beat. Please make sure that you are using your neatest handwriting to write in your notes. Great job so far. Let's look at a few different time signatures. So again, here's our 2/4 time signature. Now let's look at this 3/4 time signature. How many beats will be in each measure? 3. And what type of note will get the beat? The quarter note. That's right, because when we see a 4 on the bottom, we know that the quarter note will get the beat. Now let's go down here to our 4/4 measure. How many beats will be in each measure? 4, that is correct. And which type of note gets the beat? That's right, our quarter note. Fantastic job. So, now when we are thinking about composing in these different type of signatures, we very much so have to look at this top number first. It's the most important because your measures have to have that many beats. You can't have less than that, and you definitely cannot have more than that. So sometimes I like to circle those top numbers just to help me out. So if you'd like to circle yours, you can too. So remember, in this measure, there are 2 beats per measure. In this time signature, there are 3 beats per measure. And in this time signature, there are 4 beats per measure. And we always look at the top number. And in all 3 of these time signatures, what type of note gets the beat? That's right, the quarter note. For your assignment, on the bottom or on the back of the sheet that you have been taking notes on during this video lesson, you are going to practice composing for a 2/4 time signature, a 3/4 time signature, and a 4/4 time signature. Now, I would like for you to compose 2 measures for each. So, for example, here, you'll compose 2 beats, draw your bar line, and then another 2 beats. Here, you'll draw in 3 beats, bar line, and another 3 beats. And here you'll compose 4 beats, draw your bar line, and your last 4 beats. You can use any of these notes and rests that we talked about at the beginning of the lesson. So make sure that you have these written down in your notes. Our quarter note gets 1 beat. Our half note gets 2 beats. Our whole note gets 4 beats. Our quarter rest gets 1 beat of silence, and our half rest gets 2 beats of silence. Remember, you can only have as many beats in a measure as the top number tells you. That top number is so important. And I think you've heard me say that many times in this lesson. That's because it's so important. So again, for your assignment, you are going to compose 2 measures for each of these time signatures. Please separate your measures using a bar line. Once you have completed composing for each of these time signatures, I would like for you to take a picture of all of the notes that you took and your short little rhythmic compositions for me to review. Make sure that your work is completed very neatly so that I can read it and review it. Thanks for joining me. I can't wait to see your work.